Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you 10 romance book recommendations to read since Valentine's Day is around the corner. And I should say that all of these books which I'm recommending to you guys today are more about love rather than just romance. And just for the sake of the video, I'm saying them as romance books because it encloses all the books as a genre. Another thing, if you've been following me for quite a while, you know that I don't read that many romances. I read them only occasionally. So all these 10 books which I'm going to recommend today are those from the books which I read last year or the beginning of this year. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. The first book that I'm recommending in this video is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, in which we follow our two main characters, Lou and Will, of whom Lou has been working in a tea shop for the past few months, and because of some things that happened, she has just lost her job and she is unemployed right now. After she is unemployed, she gets this opportunity to become a caretaker for a disabled person on a wheelchair, and that person turns out to be Will, who lost his ability to move his body below his chest because of an accident that happened to him a few months back. Once Lou becomes Will's caretaker, there are so many things that happen between them. Especially the friendship that they form before it turns into romantic love is just really beautiful to read, because these characters have a sunshine grumpy kind of combo, because Will is always grumpy because he used to be this very passionate and active person when he was able to move normally, but Lou has never been like that because of various reasons in her life. And I should say, as a whole, this was just a delight for me to read. It is also kind of sad towards the end because of some things that happen, but if you want a wholesome experience while reading a romance book, I'd highly suggest you to try this one, because I extremely enjoyed the experience of reading this one from the beginning to the end, and I'd highly recommend everyone to give it a try. The next book that I'm recommending is a summer romance, and it is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Here we follow our two main characters, Nora and Charlie, who are both inside publishing, and because of some things that happen, Nora and Charlie meet up for some kind of work event, and during that time, Charlie does not come off as a pleasant person for Nora. And just a few days after this happens, Nora as well as her younger sister go on this small vacation for this really little town somewhere, just in order to blow off some steam and just relax for a while, because her younger sister is going to have a third child, and once she gets the third child, going to be completely chaotic. So she just wants to rest for a while and share her vacation with her sister, because she knows that Nora is a person who works so hard and does not give that much time for herself to rest. So both of the sisters go on this vacation to this small town where Charlie also ends up being in. And so many things happen between Nora and Charlie, during which their past lives are also explored for us in this book. The best part about this book is the sibling bond that we see between Nora and her sister, and the backstories of both the two main characters whom we see here, because they are not in the positions that they are because their life was just a bed of roses. They have done a lot of things, they have struggled a lot in order to get all the privileges that they have right now. And aesthetically speaking, if you're a book lover, you have to read this book because it has so many things which book lovers will love, and I think that's more than enough of a reason. The next one is a short story collection, and it is Summer Days and Summer Nights, edited by Stephanie Perkins, which is a collection of 12 short stories from 12 different authors, of whom some are Cassandra Clare, Leigh Bardugo, Veronica Roth and Libba Bray. And I should say all of the 12 short stories in this one are really nice to read. If you're a person who does not have that much time but you just want to sit down and read a nice romantic story, you can just go forward and try this one. It's a collection of 12 young adult romance stories if you ask me, because most of the characters whom we see here are young adults, and the way in which the authors have dealt with them is also really nice. Some of the stories are super happy and just chill to read, and one or two are a bit darker in their tone, and they're also sad at times because we do some kind of character exploration there. I listened to the audiobook of this one and finished it just a week back, and I should say I had such a great time while reading this one because it just kept me so chill. Personally, I have not read any other short story collections other than this one, and having this as my first one was a really good experience for me because I did enjoy most of the stories except one or two. As a whole, it was a good anthology to read from, and if you're interested in reading short stories, just go forward and try this one. I'm sure it will be worth your time. The next one is an Indian romance book, and it is I Too Had a Love Story by Ravinder Singh, which is actually the author's own life story, and the author has narrated it in a really brilliant way. Except for the writing in this book, I should say every other aspect of this book is just painstakingly good. And I'll say the writing is also not that great because it's the first book by the author, and he has written a number of books after this one, and I've read one of the further books written by him, and I should say the writing of him has also become better in the further books. But in this book, except for the writing, everything else is wonderfully done by the author. He has been so honest and transparent about his life. I don't think any author will have that kind of guts in order to just tell their love story as such in the perfect way that it was to us as readers, because it will require a lot of bravery and courage from the author as a whole. And the author also has said that writing this book has kind of been like a healing journey for him in order to digest the trauma that he experienced because of this love story. I'm not spoiling anything for you guys because the author himself has said in the beginning of the book that this is not going to be a happy story, it is going to have a sad ending, and that sadness is the thing which drove him to write this book, which is just phenomenal in its tone. Just thinking about this as a story itself made me so sad, and knowing that this actually happened to this person who wrote the book just makes it even more powerful. So if you want a story which is very hard hitting in its tone, at the same time super romantic and gives you all those butterflies, you have to read this one. The next one is another book by Emily Henry, and it is People We Meet on Vacation. Here we follow Poppy and Alex, who have been friends ever since college, and both of them have this tradition that they'll go together on a vacation each and every year without anyone else. But because of some things that happened in the past 2 years, they have not gone on a vacation all by themselves alone. So what Poppy does on a day out of nowhere is that she calls Alex and asks whether he's interested on going on that type of vacation again, and he also agrees with her. Both of them go on this vacation, during which they realize a lot of things that have happened over the past few years in their lives, and the amalgamations that happen between them during this vacation is the entire plot of this book. I should say the success of this book lies in the fact that the author again manages to flesh out both the main characters in this one such that they feel like real life human beings whom we can easily interact with on a daily basis itself, because I'm sure there will be so many other people in the world who will relate with both of these main characters here. And the agony of romance both of them feel throughout their lives until the point it breaks is just really beautifully expressed by the author in this one. It's also a very slow burn romance, even though it's just a single book, and the way in which the author builds it up and presents it to us is really nice. Just keep in mind that Emily Henry's books are adult romances, so they might be a bit explicit at times when it comes to some scenes, but as a whole they are just treats to read. The next one is a super twisted dark romance book, and it is November 9 by Colleen Hoover, where we follow our two main characters, Ben and Fallon, who meet on this particular date, November 9th, on the year when they are 18 or 19, and they take this decision in order to meet each and every year on the 9th of November alone and not in any day in between. They are also kind of not committed to each other because they know that they are going to spend 1 year apart from each other each and every time they meet, and because of this they are not serious with each other also. But there are so many things that each of them do to the other in order to just make them better as a person. The best thing about this book is that it is super dark in its tone, and the way in which the author has shown that darkness to us through the trauma that the characters experience here is like top tier traumatic, if you ask me. So if you're going to read this book, just keep in mind that it is not going to be a happy go romance at all. Towards the end it is nice, but the way in which the author makes the story twisted in between in order to give us that satisfying climax, kind of satisfying climax towards the end, is like a different level of pain and depression that you will feel while reading the book. I'm not saying it in a negative way, I'm just saying it in a positive way, because in order to make us feel that much of emotions while reading a book, the author's writing and the characters need to be that powerful, and the author has achieved it immensely in this one. Honestly speaking, I just bought this book because it was available at a very cheap price and I wanted to give some of the books of this author a try. And after reading this one, I was like totally flustered and surprised because I expected something this dark from the author, but the way in which she presented it to me and ended the story was something which I did not expect at all to be. And that just makes me want to read more from this author, even though I know that she has so many mixed reviews, fans as well as haters in the reading community. So if you're a person who likes very dark, twisted romances, you need to give this one a try because I'm sure that you will enjoy it. The next one is a YA romance, and it also has a supernatural element in it. It is You've Reached Sam by Justin Thao. Here we follow our two main characters, Sam and Julie, who are both 17 years old and they are in the final year of their high school. What they've decided is they want to graduate together and move in together while they are studying in college. Having made this decision, what actually ends up happening is Sam gets stuck in a car accident and he dies away, because of which Julie is totally depressed right now and she is grieving his death in her own way. One day what she decides is to call Sam's phone in order to just hear his voice from his voicemail for one last time, and what actually ends up happening is Sam picks up the call and starts talking with Julie. This happens around the same time during which the funeral for Sam is also being held, and because of this Julie is totally confused because she is not sure whether she is gone crazy or if Sam is actually talking to him. But Sam is really talking to her from the other side of life, and there are many conditions that also Sam says if they want to keep this going on. This story just shows us beautifully how teen love is and how pure it can be because of the innocence that the characters have during that particular age range. And the grieving process that the main character goes through in this book is also really realistically done by the author, if you ask me. I think I've read a lot more sad romance books over the past year, and that's the reason I'm recommending many sad books right now. So I'll try to read even more happier books and recommend them also in the future. The next one is the only book in this list which is so different from all the other books that I'm recommending today, because it is not a romantic book but an aromantic book, and it is Loveless by Alice Oseman, because the main character whom we see here, Georgia, who's in the first year of her college, realizes that she is asexual and aromantic, and the author themselves, Alice Oseman, are asexual and aromantic, and the way in which they have conveyed the sexuality and the various issues that they face in their everyday life, wonderful in this book. Okay, it's definitely a transparent and honest representation of asexuality, if you ask me, because I've not seen asexuality being represented as good as it was done in this one done in any other kind of media, and I just love this for that. And I'm recommending this book in specific for this video because I personally think that love is not just about romance alone, and it is more about just accepting and being with the person for whom they are without expecting anything as a change from them. And this book goes a step further and talks about loving oneself for whom they are and accepting them as such. Georgia here does not know anyone else who's aromantic or asexual in her life, and because of this she has been continuously thinking that she is a person who's sexual and romantic, and when she realizes that she is aromantic as well as asexual, it is like a huge awakening for her, and the mental state in which she is right then in order to accept herself and figure out all the things that are going to happen in her life because of the way in which the society acts is just brilliantly done by the author in this one. It's definitely not a heavy book, okay? It's a very light-hearted, comfortable and understanding read if you ask me, and because of that itself I think many more people need to read this one. The next one is a mythological retelling, and it is The Song of Achilles by Madelline Miller, and here we follow the story of Achilles and Patroclus and how their love was kind of prohibited during that time. Despite that, how the love that they had on each other just propelled them not to do all the things that they did in their lives as a forefront is the actual premise of this book. More than anything, the characters in this one was the best experience for me as a reader because I loved Patroclus as well as Achilles, and I should say that I loved Patroclus a lot more because he's one character I think everyone will fall in love with because of the way in which he is written by Madelline Miller in this one. I also want to read Circe. I have not gotten to it so far, but I have it on my shelf. I've been having it for nearly a year now. I'm planning to read that as soon as I can this year, but having this as the first read by the author for me was just brilliant because the author's writing in this one is one of the things which just impressed me a lot because it is so beautiful without being over the top, because there are so many things that the author keeps on describing here, starting from the places where the things in the book are happening, and it is not at all jarring at any instant. It just made me feel like I was in that place seeing the story happening between these characters, and it was just such a wholesome experience for me to read. Again, this is another sad romantic story, but trust me, it's definitely beautifully written, and if you like a really good love story, I'm sure you will love this one because it is done with great justice by the author. And again, I'm reminding myself that I need to read a lot more happy romances and recommend to you guys. And at last, I have a YA contemporary romance series, which is the Summer Trilogy by Jenny Han. And this is definitely a happy romance series to read because I have read all the 3 books and I know how they go. And I'm sure that most people who read this will enjoy it because it is a nice typical YA romance series if you ask me. I read the Lara Jean trilogy way back in 2021, and because of that only I went forward and listened to these 3 audiobooks also. And I should say, even though it's not as good as the Lara Jean trilogy, it is also good on its own. The reason why I read it is also because I wanted to watch the adaptation that was on Amazon Prime last year, but I did not end up watching it. I watched the first episode alone, but after that I did not continue on with the series, even though the episode was good. Here we follow our main character, Billy, who's 15 years old, and she, her mother and her elder brother have this tradition of going to this small place called Cousins and stay in one of her mother's friend's house who has 2 sons, and because of this, Billy, her brother and the 2 boys from the house have grown up together in their summers, and because of this they are also kind of like cousins. Billy has a crush on both of these guys during different time periods during her life, and even though they are not actual cousins, they have grown up together, and that kind of affects her feelings towards them because she is confused whether she is actually in love with them or she is just infatuated. Despite that, there are also various character explorations that are done here, both for Billy as well as all the other characters. Even though it's not as good as the Lara Jean trilogy, as I said before, it is definitely one which is worth checking out because all of them are quick reads, and I'm sure that you can finish all the 3 books in just 3 days itself. So yes guys, those are all the 10 romance books which I wanted to recommend to you guys in this video, and I'm sure that you got some recommendations, if not many, from all the books that I've talked about in this video, and I'm sure that I enjoyed each and every one of them and hope that you will too. So if you did find this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends, and if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.